Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, it's coming up to 1 year since Tasmanians elected a new Liberal government. A re-elected government with a fresh mandate and a refreshed team and new ideas. And I'm very proud of what has been achieved in that year. I said that I would lead a government with heart, and we are. We've delivered more than 4,000 social and affordable homes. We've invested more than $500 million to help Tasmanians cope with the very real and painful cost of living pressures. We've rolled out our plan to deliver healthy lunches to even more schools. And we've helped families hit by floods, farmers with drought, and rural communities to build better connections to improve mental health and well-being. We've done what we said we would do. We stepped up and formed government when our opponents ran the other way. We faced what was thrown at us head on. We took responsibility. We got on fixing it, and that's the Tasmanian way, and that's the way that we operate. Over many, many years, Tasmanians have developed a quiet determination to overcome the challenges they face, not by shouting, but by listening, by working together and getting things done. Determined to prove those who doubt us wrong. This year and in the years ahead, we will continue to deliver our 2030 plan, strong plan for Tasmania's future. Every Tasmanian can chart our course and our progress. Every 100 days, we hold ourselves accountable to our plan. We have already delivered 3 100-day plans, and right now we are working through our 4th. And so far, we have delivered more than 1,000 initiatives, more than 1,000 in our first 300 days, adding to our track record of delivering for Tasmanians. In just the last 10 months, we have recruited 2,300 new healthcare workers. We have cut ramping at our hospitals by more than 11,000 hours, meaning that our paramedics are getting back on the road to help Tasmanians sooner. The facts on ramping are indisputable. The time paramedics are spending at our hospitals has reduced from an average of almost 60 minutes in April last year to just 39 minutes in December. And I want to thank all our health staff who have worked so very hard to achieve these remarkable results. So much for those who said it couldn't be done. In education, we've employed hundreds more teachers and teacher aides. We've opened 2 new schools in the growing areas of Lagana and Brighton, and we're seeing great results from our focus on phonics as we ensure that our children are taught the literacy skills they must have in order to succeed. We have now 100% of government schools using a structured phonics program in prep to Year 2. And it's paying off. The latest results from the Year 1 phonics check now show the number of students meeting or exceeding expected phonics achievements in Tasmania has increased by 5 percentage points. This is making a real difference in a very short time for children, for families, and for our future. And we'll have a lot more to say about that in the days ahead. We have said what we intend to do, and we have done it. And we will keep doing it, keep presenting our plan, keep being accountable, and keep delivering. Today, I will focus on one thing, and one thing only, a strong economy. Not because everything else that this government is doing isn't important, It is. But because a strong economy is vital to support all those things. To govern with heart, you need a strong economy. A strong economy means that we can look after people, particularly those who need it most. We can make sure our kids get the education they need and good jobs to go to, so they can stay in Tasmania and raise their families here. We just cannot do it without a strong economy. To give people the best possible opportunity to deal with cost of living pressures, we need a strong economy. To continue our record investment in our health system, we need a strong economy. To keep building the roads, the bridges, the schools and hospitals, we need a strong economy. To be able to implement the Commission of Inquiry recommendations, we need a strong economy. And to ensure Tasmania continues to have a strong economy, we must back in business and we must back in enterprise. To do so is in the Liberal Party's DNA. Businesses create jobs. Businesses create productivity. Our role is to make that as easy as possible, to get out of people's way, to maximise individual and private sector initiative, to encourage Tasmanians through incentive rather than creating limitations. Over recent weeks, we've released a number of initiatives to drive change around planning regulations in our state, to support housing, to grow supply, and to make our planning system fairer, faster, cheaper and simpler. And we're now backing in that attitude across other sectors, so we can keep generating new projects that will continue to support our tradies. And as I've said before, if you wear a high vis, there is no greater supporter in you than our government. We will also continue to back the thousands of small businesses across our state. In Tasmania, around 97% of our businesses are small businesses. Entrepreneurs are the engine of our economy. Brand Tasmania research shows that young Australians already think Tasmania is the most entrepreneurial state. And last year, the Business Council of Australia released its study on the best places to do business in the country. Tasmania came in number 2 after South Australia. But we must do better. We want to be number 1, the best place to do business. And there's a lot in that report to be proud of. We've got high marks for things like property tax, for land use planning, for efficiency and for certainty. Yet in one area, we came in dead last in the country: the number of licences required to do business. The report found it takes 37 licences to open a cafe and 26 licences to open a retail shop. Clearly, a lot of resilient Tasmanians still open businesses despite these hurdles. Sure, businesses must operate safely, respect our communities and protect the environment. But 37 licences for a business that is simply trying to serve the very best flat whites and scallop pies. I mean, really. It's true. This red tape burden is a team effort. There are federal, state and local licences, and federal licences may well be out of our hands. But together with our partners in local government, we can do so much better than coming 8th in the nation. In fact, in this and every element of the scorecard, we should be the best in the nation. We are a small state connected to one another. Each and every one of us wants to see businesses growing and thriving, employing Tasmanians to provide meaningful opportunities for our young people. We want to be calling out to the rest of the country and indeed the world: if you want to start a business and grow a business, Tasmania is the best place in Australia. Small enterprise is the core of who we are, and it's an invitation to every Tasmanian and others who belong here that you can do it here. Sure, sometimes we have to say no. if you're operating unsafely or damaging the environment, if you're exploiting people or threatening our communities, no is always the right answer. But no, for the sake of no, is not the way to build our state. It takes a lot of time and energy, bureaucratic people power, to administer 37 or 38 licences to every business. It will be a much better use of their time to help Tasmanian entrepreneurs to yes, safely and properly. Regulators can both protect but also build. We all want the same thing: high value, growing and profitable enterprises that enrich families, communities and the state. So in coming months, we'll be stripping back licensing requirements. We'll be taking a good, hard look at what needs to be there and what doesn't. And it's not just unnecessary regulation. More broadly, it's ever-growing red tape. And as I travel across our state, everywhere I go, I keep hearing it. There's too much red tape. Businesses hate it, and I agree. So we're taking a slasher to it. Over coming weeks and months, we'll be hunting down the red tape and regulation that's blocking growth and removing it. And this won't be a one-off blitz. It won't be a one-off blitz. We're going to keep looking and keep ripping it down. We'll be reaching out to businesses, big and small, right across our wonderful state, so they can tell us the red tape they need to cut. Red tape flows from the rules and regulations that are unnecessary and often outdated, like some of our laws. And I firmly believe governments should not be judged by the number of laws they create and regulations they impose. Indeed, it should be the exact opposite. People want government out of their lives. It's been reported that Tasmanian legislation and regulation contains 79 million words. It would take months to read them all. So we'll be also taking a good look at the laws and regulations on the statute books and the ones that we can ditch, and that's just the start. We'll be setting aside parliamentary sitting days, especially for removing legislation. We will require ministers and regulators to remove existing regulations for every new one they create. We will be making sure our regulators, as well as protecting consumers, are also supporting growth and investment. We must do both. Honourable Speaker, let me now turn to the upcoming budget. 10 years ago, we inherited an economy that was in recession and a budget that was a basket case. We set about methodically rebuilding
Members on
both.
my left, I know it's tempting, but if you wish to stay for the speech, you must be quiet.
I know you're embarrassed about it because you left us a legacy. You both left us a legacy when you were voted out comprehensively in 2014.
The Premier will stop inviting them.
Under the Liberals,
and members on my right.
Under the Liberals, that debt burden was lifted. Our pro-business policies helped drive unemployment down and wages up. Then our island faced one of its mightiest challenges, a once-in-a-100-year global pandemic. In our response, we significantly boosted expenditure to keep Tasmanians safe, to keep Tasmanians in work. It was the right thing to do. Even our political opponents mostly agreed. But the truth is, the long tail of that necessary intervention is still being felt. Now it's important to be aware, despite this, we are in a sound economic position. We are close to the lowest level of debt to revenue of all the states, much better than Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland. And the interest we pay on our debt as a proportion of our budget is the second lowest in the nation. Our debt level is manageable. And as I've said before, we could slash and burn to bring the budget back to surplus sooner. But we won't do that. It would cause pain and hardship for Tasmanian families. Pain and hardship for vulnerable Tasmanians. It would constrict the economy. And that's not what we choose. That's not our way. Nor is the answer higher taxes. That's the Labor Green way, higher taxes, but not our way. Instead, we are repairing the impact of the pandemic over time, carefully, with consideration, with compassion, and with a sensible pathway to surplus. We will keep growing the economy, increase participation, increase productivity, and increase prosperity. We do need to make sure that every single dollar of taxpayers' money is used wisely. We do need to tighten our belt where we can, and we will. We do need our state service to be the right size, to be high-performing, well-resourced and sustainable, and not spending time on things that they don't really need to do. That's why we'll be undertaking a comprehensive audit of all government programs right across the board to make sure we are using resources wisely and not using resources on the things that are simply no longer the priority. Or where there's duplication, inefficiency or waste. We need to make sure that every state service job is as effective and productive as possible. We'll seek out economies of scale through shared service models and look at ways to streamline and improve services, including by using digital technology to replace paper-based and manual processes. One of the biggest challenges we faced last year was due to a monumental failure of government business governance. And that's why we embarked on the largest shake-up of GBE and state-owned corporations than ever before. In this first session of Parliament, we'll be progressing the first lot of those solid changes designed to deliver on our election pledge, to make sure government businesses deliver services to Tasmanians at the lowest sustainable cost, while also growing our economy and engaging with business and the community in a constructive manner. The challenge we faced with the Spirits raises the important question about what businesses the government should own. And I believe to answer that, we must return to first principles. This is an administration founded on a belief that wherever possible, government should not compete with an efficient private sector. Why should the government own businesses when there is not an overwhelming public benefit in doing so? An excellent example of where there is indeed that overwhelming benefit is hydro. Built and owned by the government on behalf of the people of Tasmania. Indeed, our government has made sure hydro has returned to its core principle of putting Tasmania and Tasmanians first. And we will make sure it stays that way. Hydro will always remain in public ownership. But what about the others? Is government ownership really in the interests of the Tasmanian community? It's a good question and it deserves consideration. And that's why we'll be carrying out a detailed assessment of the benefits of moving several entities out of government ownership. We will consider whether the Motor Accidents Insurance Board would do a better job freed from the shackles of government ownership. It's happened in nearly every other state. So it's worthy of consideration. Likewise, Metro. Is it the most efficient as a state-owned company? We will also consider...
What about Tas Racing? You may take a point of order if you wish. You can't have it from your chair. Members will, I will cease the Premier for a moment, members will, whilst it's not a budget speech or a first member speech, these speeches are normally held with a level of decorum and silence. I appreciate it's challenging material for members to hear, but I will ask members to maintain a level of dignity in the House, please. Premier, you have the floor.
Is it most efficient as a state-owned company? We will also consider a 99-year lease of Tas Networks to retain ownership but bring in the expertise and the corporate culture to drive the organisation forward. Again, with a much sharper customer focus. We will consider whether the Tasmanian taxpayer really needs part ownership of Momentum Energy, a largely mainland electricity retailer, and whether the Land Titles Office really needs to be owned by the government. It's worth taking a look at whether there's a better way to deliver those services to Tasmanians. And I know some will say these organisations return dividends to the Tasmanian government, and that's a fair point. But it stands to reason if they can provide a better outcome for Tasmanians, then why keep them under government ownership? Particularly when any change of ownership would have community service obligations guaranteed. You only need to look at what has happened to the spirits to ask these questions. Of course, these measures would benefit the budget bottom line. They will pay down debt, and that's a good thing. It will help pave that sensible pathway to surplus without raising taxes. Without raising taxes. Indeed.
Members on my left. The House will come to order.
Indeed, we will look to invest the proceeds of any change in ownership in a sensible pathway to surplus future fund. It will work in much the same way as an offset account on your home loan, paying down debt while investing for the future. Investing to ensure Tasmania's prosperity continues to grow over the decades to come. And I've asked respected economist Saul Estlake to work with us in ensuring our review of government businesses achieves the outcomes that we need. And I look forward to our team working closely with Saul to ensure we keep Tasmania on a sound economic footing. Honourable Speaker, our government's agenda will continue to firmly focus on ensuring that Tasmania's economy is strong. We will chart a sensible pathway to surplus by achieving three outcomes. First, we will boost productivity and economic growth by slashing red tape and regulation and backing in business. Yeah. Second, we will carefully and methodically rein in government spending. And thirdly, we'll establish a future fund using the proceeds from any sale of government-owned entities. Yeah. Honourable Speaker, there's a common thread in many Tasmanian success stories. It starts with a good dose of common sense. Yeah. Yeah. Someone sees something that should be done, or at the very least could be done, a whole lot better. Then come the challenges. Plenty of people telling you that it can't be done. That's right. But that's a good way to get a Tasmanian determined to prove them wrong. Yeah. That's when we persevere. That's when we work even harder, when we are even more determined. I'm ambitious for this state, and I'm ambitious for our future. Yeah. My vision is clear and focused to ensure that Tasmania continues to be the best state in Australia. Yeah. Indeed, the best place in the world to live, to work, to invest, and to raise a family. Yeah. Where the economy is strong, where business is supported to keep creating good, well-paid jobs. That's right. Where the community is safe and connected. Where things are fair. Where we preserve what makes this place so incredibly special. And work with all our might every day to make Tasmania even better. Thank you.
Fantastic.